Genetic engineers have combined the DNA of several animals, and now real monsters are wandering around the city. The title of the movie is Rampage, and you'll definitely enjoy it. The story begins on the orbital station Athena. That's where illegal experiments were conducted. Now the station is destroyed. Bodies are flying all around. The last member of the expedition reports to the command center that the experiment didn't go according to plan. The test subject has broken free and is rampaging. No one believes her. The test subject is an ordinary rat. The woman is forbidden to evacuate. She can either take the experiment samples and return to Earth with them, or never return at all. The woman returns to the lab. She picks up the sample container and notices what used to be the rat. Now, it's a spiky monster the size of a horse. The woman manages to reach the escape pod just in time. The monster scratches the window with its claws in an impotent rage. The pod flies towards Earth and enters the atmosphere. Still, it's too early to rejoice. The damaged glass cracks and the pod crashes. Let's move to Earth. We meet a team of primatologists. It's led by David Okoye. He's trying to establish contact between a group of gorillas and a new young male. The newcomer is nervous at the sight of humans. All of a sudden, a huge albino gorilla walks out of the thicket. The situation escalates. The males clearly don't like each other. Seeing this, the young primatologist gets frightened and runs away. The introduced gorilla chases after him, but the albino gorilla saves the foolish man. Problem solved. Turns out the albino's name is George. David raised George, became his friend, and taught him sign language. George understands human emotions, has a sense of humor, and even knows some obscene gestures. The researchers are impressed by what they've seen. The girl scientist even flirts with Davis, but the man ignores her. He feels much more comfortable interacting with animals than with humans. When Davis leaves the park, we see a flash in the sky above his car. It's the explosion of the escape pod. The canisters containing the mysterious samples remain intact. They fall in 3 different areas of the US National Park. One of the containers falls into George's enclosure. The gorilla touches the strange object with his paw, and some green gas sprays right into his face. The next day is dawning. The sanctuary is in panic. Davis is informed that his new pet was found in the grizzly enclosure, and it looks like the grizzly had bad luck. Walking past the remains of the bear, Davis attempts to communicate with George. The gorilla is feeling unwell and hides in the cave. When it gets out, one thing becomes obvious. The huge primate has doubled in size overnight. Davis is shocked. But what happened? And more importantly, who's to blame? Obviously, rich people in luxurious offices. We meet Claire and Brett Wyden. They are siblings and the CEOs of the company conducting illegal experiments in the orbital station. The objective of the Project Rampage was to combine the DNA of different animals in order to create a living weapon. After all, if you can turn a simple rat into a monster, the military will pay billions of dollars for this technology. The most important thing is to retrieve the samples that fell from orbit. For this purpose, Claire sends a group of mercenaries to Wyoming. In the meantime, let's meet another protagonist, Kate Caldwell. Kate is a genetic scientist. She is watching the news report about the crash of the orbital station in the morning. Some substance from the station was brought down to Earth and infected several animals. For example, the gorilla named George and a random wolf from Wyoming. There are no further details, but Kate is terrified. She seems to know what the animals were affected by. Meanwhile, Davis is in trouble. His shaggy friend keeps changing. It has an incredible concentration of growth hormones in its blood. Davis has no idea what to do, but the solution comes to him on its own. Kate arrives at the sanctuary. She claims that George has been affected by a special mutagen. It gives one animal the characteristics of another species. The result is a monstrous hybrid that can grow indefinitely, like a shark, run like a cheetah, and fight like a bear. Kate had a hand in developing the mutagen, which means she can cure the gorilla. Because of its accelerated growth, the primate suffers from unbearable hunger. In search of food, it destroys the cage and breaks free. Davis attempts to pacify the gorilla, but all of a sudden, a Secret Service helicopter shows up. George falls to the ground, shot down with tranquilizer darts. Let's check what's going on in Wyoming. The mercenaries land in the woods and look for the contaminated wolf. Their search is successful, but instead of a wolf, they come across a 10-meter-tall monster. The beast destroys the entire group. It even pounces on the helicopter. Assuming that the wolf has finished its meal and left, the leader of the mercenaries relaxes. Well, he'd better not. In the meantime, a sedated gorilla, Davis, and Dr. Caldwell are captured by the CIA agents. The group is led by Agent Russell. Russell's target is the Wyden family. They've been suspected of developing biological weapons for a long time. The mutated gorilla is an important piece of evidence, which is about to be transported to the headquarters by an airplane. During the flight, Russell informs David that his new girlfriend deceived him. Kate was fired from the company a long time ago, and she has no idea how to cure George. Meanwhile, the Wydens discover that the CIA has captured Dr. Caldwell. It might pose a danger to their business, as Kate is gathering dirt on them. That's when Claire Wyden finds a solution. The mutagen has a special feature. All of its victims react to a special low-frequency pulse. Claire activates a transmitter on a skyscraper in Chicago. Now the contaminated monsters will come to her office on their own and destroy each other. Claire will use their bodies to recreate the mutagen. As for the gorilla, the sign will reach it even in an altitude of 10,000 meters. The monster will go on a rampage and destroy the airplane, thus solving the problem with Dr. Caldwell. The transmitter is activated. Something gigantic starts moving down the river towards Chicago. The wolf also rushes to the inaudible call. George wakes up and becomes enraged. Claire's plan seems to be working. The gorilla breaks a hole in the airplane. Luckily, Davis and Kate manage to put on their parachutes. Russell's unconscious, so David has to save his life. The wreckage of the plane falls into a cornfield. The mutated gorilla survives and rushes towards Chicago. In the meantime, the Wydens' office is raided by the FBI. Claire is calm. She's already made sure that no one gets the data on Project Rampage. While Russell is requesting an evacuation, Kate is trying to make peace with Davis. She took the job with the Wydens company to save her sick brother. The girl was unaware that her experiments would be used to create biological weapons. She wants revenge on the Wydens. Davis forgives her. After all, now they have a common enemy. Russell, Kate and Davis arrive at the military base. The servicemen track the monster's route. The gorilla and the wolf move towards Chicago together. David explains to the military that these species can't cooperate. Apparently, they're just reacting to a common irritant. Chicago must be evacuated immediately. Those creatures can't be stopped by conventional weapons. Needless to say, the servicemen ignore this advice. Davis and Kate are escorted out of the headquarters. The girl believes they need to get to Wyden's office as soon as possible. They would hardly have summoned the monsters without safety precautions. Most likely, they have an antidote that will inhibit the animals' aggression and allow the scientists to control them. Davis and Kate decide to escape from custody. They reach a helicopter, but Russell is already waiting for them there. Fortunately, the agent is not intending to stop them. On the contrary, in gratitude for his rescue, he gives Davis the keys to the helicopter. While the couple is on their way to Chicago, soldiers prove that Davis was right. The wolf and the gorilla easily deal with the soldiers. The colonel orders the evacuation of Chicago, but it's too late. There are too many people in the city, and the monsters are too close. In addition, they're incredibly huge and unbelievably strong. The wolf and the gorilla reach Chicago. They advance towards the emitter tower, destroying everything in their path. Do you remember how there were not 2 containers of mutagen that fell into the national park, but 3? Well, the third monster is a huge crocodile. Neither artillery nor aviation can stop the monsters. Looks like they're going to destroy everything they can reach. The Colonel decides to drop the biggest possible nuclear bomb. It will blow up half the city. Russell doesn't like the idea, so he also goes to Chicago after Davis and Kate. Meanwhile, the Widens are about to leave their office. Claire notices they have company. Davis and Kate have broken into the lab. They are looking for evidence, but find nothing, since the FBI has already seized all the hard drives during their search. But Kate can't be fooled so easily. The FBI took almost everything, except the smart thermostat, which can be used to access the company's server. Alas, the storage is empty. The only evidence left is kept on the Widens' laptop. Refusing to leave empty-handed, Kate searches the lab. Her suspicions are justified. The Widens indeed have an antidote. Unfortunately, she can't take it. Claire arms herself with a gun and orders the protagonist to give her the vials with the antidote. After that, she shoots Davis and makes Dr. Caldwell follow her. After all, she needs this girl to recreate the mutagen. The Widens are sent to the helipad on the rooftop of the skyscraper. The monsters rush towards them. The building begins to collapse under their weight. The Widens don't have enough time to fly away. The gorilla reaches the helicopter first and breaks off its tail. The wreckage flies at Dr. Caldwell, but suddenly she's saved by Davis. Turns out he was only playing dead. Claire didn't hit any vital organs. So, what should they do next? The monsters are on a rampage. The antidote is gone. Oh, hold on. Kate has stolen one vial. She puts the antidote in Claire's bag and then screams to attract the gorilla's attention. Finally, the villain gets her payback. Claire is now inside the gorilla, which means the antidote is also there. Claire's brother goes down to the hall. That's where Russell is waiting for him. The agent promises to let the guy go if he gives up the laptop with evidence. He happily agrees and runs away, but not too far. A piece of wall falls on him right behind the door. Davis and Kate get into the helicopter. Its tail is broken, but they don't have to take off. All they have to do is create thrust and hold on top of the huge pile of debris. The building collapses. Davis and Kate successfully land and find George. He has already regained his conscious mind. Unfortunately, the happy ending is still a long way off. The wolf and the crocodile are struggling to get out from under the debris, and fighter jets are approaching the city. Kate leaves to contact the military and prevent the bombing. There are thousands of civilians in the city, and monsters can be destroyed without using bombs. That's exactly what George and Davis are doing now. First, David tricks the wolf. It lunges at the man and gets caught in the crocodile's jaw. But what can they do with the crocodile itself? Not a single bullet, grenade or rocket can leave a scratch on it. George is seriously wounded and will soon be unable to fight, yet his human friend is in danger. The enormous crocodile is about to swallow him. George makes one last dash and stabs the monster with a piece of rebar. The crocodile lies defeated. Kate and Russell inform the soldiers, and they cancel the airstrike at the last minute. The gorilla's dream has come true. Davis admits that George really saved him this time. What's more, he saved thousands of civilians. The gorilla's eyes close. He loses consciousness. David mourns his friend. But there is no reason to do so. You remember that George has a great sense of humor, don't you? Turns out the gorilla was just pranking his friend. Everyone's actually alive, so it's a true happy ending.